Stay in Ekurhuleni for our next story, and we are joined now by the new executive mayor of that metro, Dr Nkosindiphile Xhakaza. He has promised to bring the troubled metro back to its glory days, so to speak. Service delivery has crumbled as the city faces political instability there. Xhakaza replaced the AIC's Sivile Ngodwana, who was ousted in a motion of no confidence last month. The mayor joins me for more on that. Mayor, good to have you, and thank you very much for coming in.
Thank you very much for having us, Tabo.
Let me just firstly say thank you for having a mayor that actually does come in and talk to us, because the previous one was really not available for us to talk to.
Yeah, well, I mean, we have to give confidence to our communities. This platform is critical for us to account, to, of course, share our plans. The much-needed transparency you get to, give it utilizing these platforms.
Yeah. At a glance, to a layperson like myself, it seems you just played political chess. You swapped seats with Sivile Ngodwana. You just moved this way and then he moved that way. Except for that, things are pretty much remaining the same, barring one or two portfolios that we could have particularly seen changes. And then one asks, what was the noise about? What was the noise about? Why was the ANC so hell-bent on, for lack of a better word, removing the administration that was in place if you're going to come back and retain exactly the same administration?
Well, I mean, not really. If you look closely, you can actually see that there has been changes. Of course, now we've put together the mayoral committee. One area, for instance, real estate. We have now integrated it to city planning to drive the entire development, economic development for the city. The energy and water, we've unbundled it. So you can actually see that there's been changes. But fundamentally, what the change that we're actually calling for from the ANC point of view was, or reconfiguration that we're actually calling for, was on leadership. Really that there must be a leadership to actually drive the team forward, that we needed a bit more commitment in terms of the program of our people, that needed to be transparent, and the commitment to certain value systems. Yeah. Because for us to drive government, you have to come to these platforms, because media is a very critical platform for you to communicate to our communities. Yeah. So amongst other things, really that's what we've been calling for. You would know that we're now going to have the State of the City addresses coming up. We must articulate what are the issues, we must consult widely. But fundamentally, that which we've committed to our people through the State of the City's address, we need that integrated in the administration. It needs to be understood what is it that we want to be delivered, but you also need to be measured. I mean, 6 months, a year down the line.
People find it unbelievable. They say, Mayor, I mean, you were literally just interested in the political optics. ANC has got the most wards in Ekurhuleni. Therefore, the ANC should have the mayor in place. It's purely political interest and personal egos. Has got nothing to do with whether there was service delivery or not. It's just your own personal preference as the ANC that you've got more wards and therefore you want to see your own mayor there.
No, I mean, Tabo, just us coming here on this platform, you must agree with us, it's a huge change. Yes. It demonstrates a commitment to accountability. Our communities, they want to hear what is the city doing. And this is the part of change that we've been talking. You've been complaining yourself here that the past year there's been literally nothing, and that's leadership. That's leadership. Leadership must be able to come to this platform, engage with yourselves, talk about the plans of the city. It's not a small city. It's a city in Gauteng. We've got a 4 million population, the size of our budget close to 60 billion. Our contribution to the GDP of Gauteng, the GDP of South Africa, So a lot of people have got an interest. Besides me and you as residents of Ekurhuleni, you've got investors who want to hear, what is happening in that part of the world. How do we grow the economy if we don't communicate? So basically, there's quite a lot that requires us to come to this platform, and we're saying the change is not just about the chair of the ANC taking up the seat. We believe, over the years, the ANC has prepared us. 10 years now in the mayoral committee in various roles, and we think those exposures will have to come in handy in terms of taking the city forward, ensuring that we accelerate service delivery, we deal with issues around electricity, around water, around waste, roads, with greater agility, the speed and commitment that we need to put. But importantly, we need to drive a team. We need to make these arrangements, coalitions, to work.
So you've got the benefit of both being now the mayor, but also having previously been the MMC for finance, to have a look and have an overview of what the finances of the city are
not necessarily the finances. Under Mayor Mondli Gungubele, I had the responsibility to look after water, energy and sanitation, which is critical because the critical service delivery, when you look across all the departments that are driving service delivery, electricity, most critical. You run out of electricity. If the electricity interruption happens now, in an hour's time, you want to hear what is happening.
Indeed.
If there is water leaks, you want to hear it now.
Yeah.
If there is issues of sanitation blockages, the sewer blockage, you need to have leadership responding as soon as possible.
Yes.
If the city is not, I'm saying, but also in terms of the infrastructure. Capacity to cater for growth.
I want to come to the infrastructure, talk about some of the infrastructure issues that have been raised, but I wanted to come in to settle this debate, because part of the challenge was the non-release of the statement, financial statements and so on and so forth, and the back and forth with the Auditor General, which raised a lot of concern. And the concern is around whether or not there is financial stability in the city. We know one thing for sure that has been flagged by the Auditor General is the procurement processes that seemingly would have had some challenges that needed to be particularly looked at. Now that you're in and you're having a look at what is in place, what are you inheriting?
Well, fortunate, just today we had a meeting with the Audit Committee, which is an independent body which is giving assurance about our finances. And really it was to go deeper to say, what has been some of the issues that the AG has raised. Of course, we will be meeting also with the AG, just from the relationship point of view, just to ascertain that as the municipality, we take such an institution like AG very seriously. We respect the work of the AG, and at no stage we want to muddy AG in terms of its work in politics. Now, that is an important commitment, like any other Chapter 9 institution, because the democracy that we enjoy today must be preserved, and these institutions are critical to give assurance to our communities. Now, we have put up already an Operation Clean Audit to actually ensure that the areas of regress are actually attended to.
Yeah.
And we are happy that in the areas of annual financial statements, in terms of the quality of the reported information, the city is still clean. We are happy that, in terms of the quality of the performance information, when they check service delivery and what you report about was still clean. Of course, there's been issues in the areas of compliance with laws and legislation, the supply chain, as you mentioned it. And we're looking closely, and we think through the institutions of council, because already the report is before council, has been referred to different oversight committee, in particular MPEC. Yeah. We'll have to look closely in terms of what has been some of the transgressions, and those that are responsible for those contracts will have to come and appear before MPEC. And the report of MPEC will have to be implemented by the executive. And that's where we're clear. Where there's been deficiencies. We have to put up remedial actions. We have to ensure that there's training of the officials involved. But importantly, where there's been a deliberate or an underhand consequences, I think our communities, they want to hear us.
So consequences
very clear.
Will flow from there.
Yeah.
Yeah. You were at corporate services not so long ago, and shared services, and one of the questions that has been put to that portfolio, even in your time when you were there, now recently, a couple of months ago, is why is the city failing to meet set turnaround times in attending to service delivery requests? Something like street lights. Apparently, there is a non-existence of enough light bulbs. Now, I stay in Ekurhuleni, so I know the street lights are off.
Yeah, well, I mean, one of the issues that we are committing to our communities is to ensure that we, of course, accelerate oversight service delivery, get, the teams to do what they're supposed to do the right way, the first time. And that's what we must, just recommit. But of course, we understand some of the challenges. It's capacity linked to budgets. It's capacity linked to the human resource that is.
What does that mean? Put that in simple terms. So we don't have people that are able to change bulbs. We don't have money to buy bulbs. What does it mean?
In simple terms, what it actually means in terms of the service delivery standards, because we get measured according to the service delivery standard. Yeah. Now, for you to establish a standard, you must also resource it. You must make sure that this standard, you resource it in terms of money if there's a transformer that is burned, you have money to actually replace the transformer. But importantly, do you have enough engineers? Do you have enough technicians to be able to attend to that bulb? Yeah. So there is an item that is before council that we've put before council to say, let's discuss so that we align the service delivery standards. But where we are, I don't think it is right to say the city is completely off. We must
not so completely off. At least my street is completely off.
We must acknowledge that there are challenges. But what we must promise is enough speed to be able to resolve this problem.
Let's talk about that.
And that is why one of the areas...
Because one of the areas that worries me, for example, is the fact that when I go out, I do my jog in the morning and I run around, I at least come across 4 water meters that are leaking into the road. 4. And I'm not talking in 2 weeks. Talking in 6 months. Those water meters have been literally flowing water into the road, right? And when I ask those people as to what's going on, they say, no, they've reported, right? I also phone and I say they reported, but it's not in my area. It's not within my area, it's somewhere else. And then I meet an Ekurhuleni workers closing one particular water meter that is leaking. And I say, there are 4 others. They say, no, you must phone first, otherwise we can't do anything.
Yeah, I mean, the service delivery model that we have is that we must report all service delivery interruptions so that we can track them. Yeah. You report either utilizing the various platforms, either it's a call center or it's a walking into the customer care area, or you go to the ward councillor, or use the social media platforms, email, Twitter, Facebook. We then generate a reference, and that reference is linked to a standard. If it's a water leak, if it's a meter, there's a standard that says, within so much time, this issue must be resolved. And that gets to be recorded and centralized. And us as the leadership is to come in and monitor. Yeah. Are we resolving these issues on time, and why are we not resolving them on time? Right. And that report is not just a report that we deal with administratively. It comes to the executive, before the executive mayor and the mayoral committee. And there has to be leadership. That is why we must then drive mayoral outreach programs so that we go to specific areas. Because the system would have indicated to us that here we've got problems. And we must go there in order to clear those problems. Now, there should not be an issue where you sit for weeks with a meter, problem, leak that has not been resolved.
Yeah. But does that mean a technician must drive past a wastage because you must generate a report?
It doesn't mean so.
And does that process have to wait for the resident to phone? That technician could have driven past that particular meter, then go and register that particular issue and generate the reference number, then come back and fix it. Why does it have to wait so long?
No, it's a question of the culture issues. We must get the culture where, everybody does work, the right way. What it actually means is that if you are an activist-orientated administration, you should be able to know you can't pass, a sewer leak. You should be able to take it up and resolve it. But we get to measure really the engineers on the basis of, measured work. And I'm saying if you report a sewer leak, a sewer blockage, for instance, and if it is reported, we generate a reference number, it is easy for me and you to actually hold that engineer accountable. Because once you report it in the system, it gets assigned to a depot. That depot, there's an engineer, and that engineer needs to be dispatched, and there's turnaround times. But it doesn't mean, even if you've got 4 issues, you go out to resolve the 4 issues. We expect you, to be conscious enough to say, I can't pass this one unresolved. Yes. You have to resolve it and then do the mechanism, because the mechanism is in your hand, yes, to actually log this other issue. It is the responsibility of officials, it is the responsibility of everyone else to actually report service delivery interruptions. So if you are out there, you resolve additional issues. You can't just allow those issues to continue to water to flow in the streets. You don't attend to that problem because you're waiting for someone to report it.
Yeah.
And I think that's a wrong culture.
Absolutely, absolutely. So you say, there are various platforms to do this, of course, your phone and so on and so forth. You can log it on social media. There's been a complaint about the lack of resources at the Ekurhuleni call center. They're saying there are 40 agents with 10 laptops and 2 chargers. What do you know about that?
Yeah, we will be looking closely at the call center in terms of the capacity in the call center. But where we're sitting, we've got enough capacity. We just need to get the right culture. We know that the call center can actually report even the productivity of the agents that are there. It can report about how many calls are you picking up, how many calls are a drop call, and all that. And all what we need is to ensure that there's proper oversight so that we get the agents that are there to do their work. We actually get those reports even to council so that councillors, they actually look at this report. There's proper oversight in terms of the oversight committees to summon the department responsible for call center so that they can actually answer. We have confidence really that the service delivery model that we actually have, how it is designed, is perfectly working. We do need that the manpower behind, they actually do the right thing. And that's what the executive mayor, the mayoral committee, that's what council is there for, to actually ensure that from the city manager to the HOD going down, yes, people, they actually do what they have to do.
So let's turn to your executive once again, and then you're saying, of course, councillors are there and then they look at these issues. One of the complaints is that yourself as a mayor, you appointed, for example, an MMC for energy, who currently has got 3 petitions at the public participation and petitions standing committee. 1 on availability, 2 on excluding residents in particular processes. I was saying this MMC is really unavailable to the residents. Yet you've taken him and you've put him in your executive.
Well, let's talk about the petition system. It's one of the platforms where residents must escalate areas of unhappiness, be it is with the mayor, be it is with the city manager. It's a form of protest, and the petitions need to be responded to. And I can tell you, in communities, we've got 112 ward councillors, and ward councillors are a representative of communities. Yeah. Of course, there's a lot of pressure points for ward councillors to respond, because communities, they take that ward councillors are a government, and ward councillors are merely representing communities in government. So the expectation is that all the issues that have been raised with ward councillors must have capacity to resolve them. And I'm saying it's the other way around. Ward councillors must register the issues as they raise them from communities and council. Yeah. And the duty of then councillors is to push the officials so that officials are able to resolve. So in
simple terms, you're saying his failure as a councillor, maybe it's not even failure, maybe he did raise the issues with the executive, should not be a reflection on how he will perform as an MMC?
Well, I mean, I'm not necessarily answering, I'm just saying generally you have that understanding that in communities they look at councillor and say, you are the ward councillor, we expect you to resolve our issues. Yeah. Yet the ward councillors are a mouthpiece of communities. It could be that some of the petitions are being raised from the point of view of frustration from communities when the issues that have registered are not being resolved on time. Talking about the MMC of Energy, he is a young MMC, quite energetic. His capabilities through his doing his work in the oversight, in his day-to-day activities, including in his own ward, how he's been leading up community meetings, getting feedback and all that is actually satisfactory. And that is why we have assigned him to that role. We know what the role requires. It requires very energetic. I myself, I was MMC of Energy in 2013, 2014. I was still, in the youth ranks. And we believe that with the energy, because you need to communicate, you need to be there in if there's an outage in Tembisa, if there's a substation that is blown up in Kempton Park, our communities, they want you to be there to actually communicate with them. Of course, you can utilize various platforms to communicate, but ultimately, if it's sustained beyond what is reasonable, you need to go there. The mayor needs to go there to actually give, to oversight that the repairs are actually happening, the teams are on site to actually ensure that we restore the power. So we think we have trust in the capabilities of the young councillor that he will be able to drive that department.
So two areas I mean, there are plenty others we could talk about, but let me just pick these two for you to respond to. 167 EMPDs have got criminal records. So in the 2022 audit, you found that 250 of them have got criminal records, 83 are still going through trial, and 167 have got criminal records. What are you going to do about that?
Well, I mean, as I've said we've got a State of the City's address next week, Tuesday. And we're currently busy with the one-on-ones, meeting with various departments. We're scheduled to meet with the Community Safety Department, EMPD in particular, on Thursday. The MMC and the HOD actually get a full report on these, the metropolis who are said to be having criminal records. And one area that we must establish, how were they employed in the system, just to establish what happened and where they are, what are available, systems, to actually deal with, this type of issues, so that our communities can have confidence in the EMPD that we've got the right people. And for you to be a right person, you must be clear of criminal, records.
That's what the Act says. It's
yes.
very clear. It's very clear.
Yes.
Right.
So that's where we're going. And I'm sure next week when we have to come here, sit with you with a full report before us, we will be saying to you we've acted, and then this is where we are. But we can only act once the report comes before the table of the mayor.
Okay. The other final issue, because I mean it fits into the whole economy of Ekurhuleni and is quite key in creating jobs and making sure that that economy is working. It's the Ekurhuleni produce market that's apparently dead.
Ekurhuleni what?
The market. Ekurhuleni.
Oh, okay. The fresh produce market.
Fresh produce market.
Yeah. Well, I mean the fresh produce market. It is there. It is our pride in terms of how it has been performing. I think it sits about 30 million. It's got per month. I might not have the stats with me on top of my head, but it's one of our pride really in terms of creating the market where the farmers and the retailers they actually meet. And us as a city is to create that platform, to set up that infrastructure investment, to ensure that we appoint market agencies, to deal with infrastructure, assets, a simple thing like a speed point. Those we provide them. And we also do market, the facility so that, including hawkers, they actually use that space to go and get fresh produce. It is a growing market. Over the years, we've put up a lot of investment. We've recapitalized. We've spent quite a few millions to actually expand the space to make it more conducive. We look at the other models in other cities, really to get the model, the market, to work.
So at the moment, they're saying it's not working.
It is working.
You contend it's working?
It is working. Definitely. MMC, Nomali Nkosindiphile, who looks after economic development, one of the areas that we look at is the market. We have an agricultural development program, we have a farm release program, and all that it is linked to an operation of the market, because what we believe is that there is a number of our communities who want to participate in farming. Others do small-scale farming, and we've got pieces of land that we need to make it available to those farmers. But once they plow their produce and all that, they also need the market to trade. And the market, it is there. And I agree, it must be strengthened. It's got a lot of potential to grow. We've recapitalized. We've put up some investment. I would know this for sure because in the last term, I was looking after finance and economic development. But of course, in the last 2 years, there would not have been specific focus on those programs. That is why now those programs, we need to lift them on the table and ensure that they are given the necessary leadership and that our communities do not suffer with such a great asset in Springs.
I'll give you a call after the State of the City address. We'll discuss that a little bit further. Good day again. Thank you very much.
We'll appreciate the opportunity.
That's the Mayor of the City of Ekurhuleni there, Dr Nkosindiphile Xhakaza.